What's up, guys? This is Marcelo with BleepinJeep. Today I'm going to show you how to narrow an Axial Wraith axle to make it look more suitable for an SCX10 style rig. This is actually the new China Jeep Cherokee body. I've had it for a couple of months, so I decided I'd go ahead and start using it. I'm actually modeling it after the OR Fab Cherokee. I'm not sure if some of you have seen that. Okay, so here we go. Okay guys, so here's a standard Wraith axle, and the reason why we like them is because the pumpkin is offset, just like a real axle. Unlike the SCX10 axle where it's in the middle, it just doesn't look as scale. So unfortunately the Wraith axle is a lot longer, so it makes the tires stick out of the body really, and it just looks ridiculous. So what we're going to do is we're going to narrow it to make it look better, and it'll still be offset. So in order to narrow this, we're going to go ahead and cut this side of the axle tube off right where it meets to the pumpkin housing, and we're also going to cut right here. This is where it's going to be joining right here, and then we're going to cut this side of the tube off right here where the lower control arm mount is. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut right there. So here's the tube that I'm going to use to put inside of the axle. It's 3/8. I just got this at my local hobby shop, and so what we're going to do is we're going to have to drill out a little bit of the axle to fit this in there, but we're going to just use this to strengthen it up so we can go ahead and wheel it pretty hard and not break anything. So once you go ahead and have the cuts cleaned up to your liking, we're just going to go ahead and not use this. And the next thing we're going to do is we have to round this out a little bit with the 3/8 drill bit. That's the same size as the rod that we're going to stick in there for strength. And just keep in mind that you only need to drill up until the lower control arm mount here, because you still have to be able to mount the lower control arms right there. So, and also you have to round out the insides where the pumpkin is, and just keep in mind, I'm not sure if you can see that, but the bearing has to sit right in there. So you don't drill all the way through, just drill to the very tip of that so we can still put the bearing for the differential in there. Okay, once we get the tube in there as far as it'll go, I'll go ahead and mark the tube here with the pencil so I know that's how far it's going to go in. Okay, once I get the first mark, what I like to do to go ahead and measure to see how much tube I'm going to need to cut, I'll go in there with a pencil and I'll go ahead and mark the edge of the pipe here, then the mark how far the tube is going to go in the first side. Then I just measure how far it's going to go into this one, and then I'll do the same thing. Okay, so now I have the mark for the how much it's going to go into the other one. So I'll go ahead and mark that. And the other one's a bit smaller, so it's not going to go in as much. Let's try that right there. Okay. So that's going to be about 3/4 of an inch of tube that I have to cut off. Okay, so that's one. Pretty much you're going to do the same thing on the other side, and we're going to use good old JB Weld to make it stick in there. So I went ahead and trimmed a little bit more off of the smaller piece just because I wanted the axle to be a little bit more narrow than I usually do. So of course I have to trim the little tube inside just a couple of millimeters, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, got one side in. I'll just need to do the other side. So, same thing, just get it all around there. Okay, so here's the first part, and it's relatively more narrow. You'll see once it's all together. Okay, so now we have this. It's narrowed, it's still drying, but now for these control arms, I do have to drill into the steel that we just mounted in there, just so we can get those control arm mounts on. Okay, so next we have to cut these axle shafts. So they're very similar to the real ones. They have little U-joints in there, and these are hardened steel, so they shouldn't break. I'll show you how to do that. So you can see that they're still pretty long. They're the Wraith length. So let me go ahead and show you how to cut them. Okay, before I do, I want to go ahead and show you that there's a flat edge to this shaft. That's how it locks into the diff. So once we cut it, we have to flatten out the end of that we cut, so it'll go ahead and slide into the differential. So that's going to be a little bit tedious, but we'll get it done. Okay, so I went ahead and hacked off the first part of the axle shaft. So now I need to go ahead and make the 2 flat tips on this, so it'll go all the way into the differential. So here it is, shaved down a little bit. I think I may have done a little too much, but I think it'll be just fine because this is hardened steel. So here's the differential. Put it in there. And there we go. We get steering. Okay guys, so that's it. I'm just waiting on that differential cover. It's in the mail, but that's pretty much it. Alright, thanks for watching BleepinJeep.